Hey Miguel, I'm almost to the studio. Alright, is Elvie and Jesus there? Alright, I'll see you in about 5 minutes.
We were talking for a while about the lack of places for Latino artists at the time. I mean, a few existed, but the stuff that we wanted to do, as far as installation work, more work that challenges people, we wouldn't. Other places, typical places, wouldn't show us, so we decided to come together.
The three of us have known each other for quite a while, and at the time I think all three of us had been involved at the taller, and we started to feel the need to do something more. And each of us was pursuing different things, and then we would collaborate together, so out of us three collaborating together, what came out.
You say that a lot of spaces, tend to always define what art is. Like if you go to certain spaces in Chicago, they specifically only show a certain aesthetic or a certain type of genre of art. And they think that if you were to look at all the show that Bobo has had from just the last year, you can't really say that we represent or dominate one aesthetic.
The space is here for emerging artists who want to experiment, do installation work that fits the space. They're not limited at all to just 2D work or some commercial space, where they're limited in creativity. Here they can go crazy and alter the space. As long as, once they're done, then they, paint the walls or whatever, convert the space to its original, how it was originally. But they have total freedom.
But there's a specific alley which is behind the Nuevo Leon restaurant, which is 18th Street and Ashland Avenue. But there was this particular house, the backyard, that had this toy rat suspended from a tree, from a chain, and I always thought, wow, that's really bizarre. But also, it reminded me of growing up in Texas, or in the border, that all these divisions or all these fences, between the States and Mexico. So I love the idea of working with a chain link fence. And in terms of the community, you know what? It took me a while to really get into just the aspect of being part of a community. Because I think when you're an American, and also when you go to school and you go to art school, you tend to be or you're taught to think individually. So when I got here and I met all these people, mostly from Mexico, it was a whole different mindset, man. It was like, you know what, let's do things in numbers. Let's do things in numbers because we'll have more power, more strength. And it was an education in itself. It was another school. It was a complete other school. But this time, it wasn't academic. It was very street, man. I don't know how, it's hard to explain it, but it was really rich and really, tenía mucho calor, ¿me entiendes? It sounds really, really, really obvious. I mean, when you break it down to like source material, but it really isn't. It's the magic comes from the looking, and then when you put it into a context in painting and drawing, it becomes its own thing.
I can't even say what really got me into it in the first place but I think a lot of it was like just the culture, you know, as a kid you're bombarded by all this stuff, and you know, we were into just like music, so we seen album covers and like the bottom of skateboards and all that kind of stuff, and that's what really got us interested in doing what we do, I guess, you know, a lot of inspiration from that, you know, the kind of counterculture, subculture type thing, and that's I think that's a lot what carries through our work now, you know. And
depends what you want to do. I mean, sometimes you want to create work that's real fast, and sometimes you want to create work that's more slow. I guess it depends on mood you're in. But I think my slow work definitely came a lot from my studies at the Art Institute, and a lot of figurative painting, and a lot of the faster work comes from, like you said, skateboard graphics and punk rock records, t-shirts, and now for me, tattooing, and I think that's kind of where I'm at.
It's a really strong base, and I think that's what's really what's good about living in this community, is that, you know, you have that foundation.
And it doesn't have to be like necessarily art thing or anything. It's just like every day you come and you get to know better the guy who works at the supermercado, or the guy who serves you your pizza slice.
The winos in the alley.
The winos in the alley. You know, just like the longer you stay there, you build up a community, and I think that's really what staying in one place really becomes about.
This is a painting I picked up at the old Maxwell Street. This is another painting my friend Dean Ewing did, the hitchhiker, catching the rails. This is a shot of the corner here, the way it used to look in '96. Just the different things all over. This is Carlos.
Carlos,
yep. He's a good friend of ours. This is one of his prints here. This is a picture of Cesar Rosas that my friend shot at one of the shows. His brother did the piece of Sitting Bull. Just different photographs that I've thrown up. This is a photograph I took at Washington, D.C. There had no bombs. This is the way the building used to look when it was a barber shop. And I was a printer at a place called Inkworks. It was on the corner. We helped have Harold Washington elected and different politicians that were there. We had some really good shows. Arturo Sandoval played. And here's a shot that I took of the Alamo at nighttime. There's just different stuff on the ceiling that you can see. That's a piece that Sal Vega did, that he did at a fine print shop in LA. And there's an old antique poster that I picked up from the original Maxwell Street in the fight against litter and pollution. We still have so far to go. The Indians crying. Just different things. Gamaliel did that mask. There's a spoon with a little piece of bread, signifying that there's homeless children who are hungry. Then there's some photographs I've taken of some of the local artists. There's one of Sal Vega right there. There's a photograph of Hector Duarte. You can see like my doorways, a collage and stuff. I have different things. This is Graceland, Hector Duarte. There's a photograph of me when I was like 22. My rifle and the rounds I used to have. Willie James. He's an amazing guitar player. He used to play here and he used to have parties. And it was a lot of fun. He used to come and play here after some of his sets over at Maxwell Street. Aurelio Diaz did that one right there. I was one of the teachers over at Benito Juarez High School. Dino did the Hendrix. Francisco Mendoza did the girl right there, a friend of ours named Patty.
Martinez.
Patty Martinez, right. Just different stuff that I've picked up over the years. Mass from Mexico, Janis Joplin. There's my bathroom. The lighting's pretty bad in here, but pretty much like collage in here as well. This is an old piece that I picked up in New Orleans. It's a grave piece. He passed away in 1835. It was just gonna sit there. It was already deteriorating and stuff. I just picked it up.
My mentors pretty much is Remedios Varo, who was my favorite. She was a Spanish artist who traveled to Paris, and she was rolling like a ball, like I am, and like I've been from Mexico to here, from here to there. So pretty much her paintings are beautiful, especially because they come from the heart. Everything she was, everything she thought and felt, she just put it on a piece of canvas, and pretty much that's what I'm doing. Trees, water, contaminated water. As you can see, I don't know if the camera catches the details, but this is like some sort of tree, fossilized tree, and right here you can see blood coming out of its mouth because it's bleeding, it's crying. You get kids together to work on a project, that's teaching them to work, about teamwork. You teach them something beautiful, which is art. That's another way for them to get away from gangs. That's another way for them to, kill time in a positive way. If you know how to do something, then share it, teach it to somebody else.
Mi nombre es Héctor Duarte y vengo de Michoacán y pues estoy aquí en la tierra prometida, comunidad. El punto es los murales ayudaron a crear una comunidad, los murales ayudaron a integrar la comunidad y a escribir parte de la historia de la comunidad, aunque no sé si alguien haya hecho algún escrito, algún libro, alguna filmación o algo completa sobre toda esa trayectoria, supongo que no existe, de los murales del pasado y de qué manera están en la historia. Y la comunidad artística cómo fue moviendo. Ahora hay muchos más artistas que ya han ido a la escuela, muchos de los que iniciaron ese tiempo en los 60s, 70s, son artistas ahora, dan clases, son graduados otros ya están en galerías y así. Pero sigue la nueva generación que tiene ganas de pintar murales y yo creo que hay que apoyar ese aspecto. ¿No? En un sentido, también creo que es ese sentido de comunidad que está ahí presente, porque los jóvenes que están ahora en la escuela, los que ya salieron de la secundaria, ellos han crecido viendo los murales y se han motivado para pintar o para hacer arte de alguna manera, y ahí viene una juventud muy pujante con ganas de hacer dejar su propia huella. Entonces yo creo que comunidad existe todavía en Pilsen, aunque nos están corriendo, pero aquí estamos.
Sketch all the time, and my father was an avid music collector, so from the very beginning that's all I've been, one track mind in art. Everyone in my neighborhood knows me and they know I'm an artist, so I think that's good and important. The world's focused on other things, and they forget that we need art to keep going, to keep building, and to keep opening our minds and thinking. And you know, without movies and music and plays and culture and sculpture and painting and books, we wouldn't be having video cameras and light. We wouldn't have any of this. So people got to realize it's a lot more important than it seems on the surface level. It's not just a picture on your wall. It's not just decoration. You know, I mean, though some people have blinders on, and that's fine. That's what they need. Then that's that. But you know, I'm searching for deeper levels and deeper meanings and deeper possibilities. I think that there is hope. I still have hope. I still have faith, and my art is my carrier of that message.
Basically, I grew up in Pilsen, and as a teenager, I got involved through a program through the University of Illinois that was being run out of St. Procopius. My brother and I began to take art classes, and that was kind of the first involvement. And second was that as I was growing up, I met a lot of the muralists, like Mario Castillo, Marcos Raya at the time. I was doing a lot of murals, Patlan. And as a young student, probably 14 years old, 13, 14, I was running around helping them on the scaffolds and just being part of the process, and I was very intrigued by the idea of the arts. And it wasn't until I actually was in my early 20s, maybe late teens, early 20s, that I began to do art on my own. My continued connection in Pilsen is one that I grew up here too. Some of my family still lives here. 3, an active artist in terms of an arts educator, and so I work a lot in the community. I teach classes. I was teaching out of Citlalin, either through Citlalin itself, also in the schools, also because I'm very connected to a lot of the artists, the current artists here, current artist population, and I'm just excited about the fact that Pilsen has a very rich history in terms of arts. Now, so more than ever, is another whole generation of young people, of artists doing some very exciting work, and also older people who are still here. You know, I mean, we talk about some of the artists that we're probably more familiar with, you know, such as Alejandro Romero, Hector Duarte. And I think it's such a vibrant scene. It's not just the East Pilsen scene, it's like what's happening all throughout Pilsen, especially the west side.
For about a year, then I opened mine. And it's basically portraiture and taking picture to make a living. And then on the side, I did some personal projects of different sort. Inspiration, how do I get inspired, is usually the social issues that drives me to concentrate on certain subject matter to do the project, any project on photography. The latest one that I'm working on is hijab. Hijab is a compulsory dress code for females in Islamic societies. I have started a project with 8 photographers, students of journalism and photography school in Tehran. The trip that I took 3 years ago, and I commissioned them to shoot pictures about hijab. No matter if they agree with it or disagree with it, shoot and send me the work. We were planning to invite them here. Unfortunately, the 9/11 disaster happened and they couldn't get a visa. That show didn't take off. It was being supported or sponsored by women's studies of different universities in different region of the country. This year I decided to put that show up anyway and put the work of those students, including my own work, together. And it's a subject that I'm very sensitive about, and I think it's a cover-up for oppression and depriving right to half of a society in that part of the world. And that is my aim, to put it up and have a good audience for it.
Alright, I've always wanted to be a painter. I always loved painting, and I was very influenced by the work of the masters. All stuff from the Renaissance and the Impressionist, and as I got older I got more into the work of Basquiat and Schnabel and people like that, modern painters, and pop art. I've been to Europe, I've studied in Europe. I'm greatly influenced by that mode of thinking, that appreciation for art and artists, and hopefully I can get some of that appreciation here in the States and move on to be an international artist and exhibit internationally.
Desde niña tendría como 7, 8 años. Y en mi casa había un piso que era de mosaico, que tenía como muchas manchas, y eso era mi atracción cuando era niña. Mi cama era muy bajita y me dormía hacia abajo con la cabeza viendo el piso siempre, y ahí empecé a ver las primeras imágenes, y al otro día hacía dibujos que yo había visto en esas manchas, y ese fue el principio de las imágenes que yo recuerdo. Mi proceso es realmente, en general trabajo casi siempre, especialmente en los últimos años, con alguna serie. Y mi último trabajo que estoy realizando ahora es sobre los 4 elementos. Entonces estoy haciendo una serie de casi terminada, está en pintura, que es la mujer fuego, la mujer agua, la mujer aire, la mujer tierra. También lo estoy haciendo en gráfica ahora, que es algo como que son los 4 elementos, los 4 puntos cardinales, no sé, como que tiene mucha significancia en este momento también, conjunto las cosas con lo que me está pasando en mi vida personal. Pinto mucho mujeres, porque pues a partir de que soy mujer, como que conozco más mis sentimientos y lo que quiero expresar, y eso es lo que busco, una identificación y un desdoblamiento de mi propia sentir como mujer, que tiene aspectos, puede ser de varios sentidos, ¿no? Como la familia, no soy muy política, pero también me interesa. Entonces hay muchas cosas, preguntas y respuestas de mí misma reflejadas en las imágenes.
I studied graphic design as an undergrad in college, and then I went on to become a graphic designer, and then from that point on I began teaching, and I teach Photoshop, and that's primarily what I use as my medium. The computer art is what I just call my artwork now. It's computer generated. I shoot with both digital and film cameras, 35mm primarily, and I take those images and manipulate them on the computer. My parents grew up in this neighborhood, and from this point we went on, moved west to Little Village, and from then, as I had an opportunity like 10 years ago to purchase a house, so I moved back into Pilsen, and there's a large art community, as all the residents in the neighborhood know. There's a large art community here, and I'm just becoming part of that community. I'm meeting a lot of great artists now, and I want to be more involved in that, and this is the opportunity to do so. When I was an undergrad, I did a paper on the East versus West artist of Pilsen, meaning the Anglo versus the Hispanic artists. And I never really felt a sense of community as far as that goes, because even though I'm of Mexican heritage, I don't speak the language, so I can always considered myself sort of an outcast, and in that sort of sense. And I thought of myself as kind of a poser if I use that to my advantage. But now I'm starting to get a different perspective. You know, I'm meeting a lot of the Hispanic artists, and I'm learning that that's not necessarily the case. So I'm changing my perspective on that, and I'm getting more involved.
Because I've been drawing since a very young child. And my first drawing was of a car. I was born in Cuba, and looking outside my window, our patios. We were right by the ocean. So I do this car, and then I showed it to my dad, and he was like, wow, I was 5 years old. He's like, wow, that's great. So every time I drew something, I got a positive response. It was like Pablo's theory. It was a positive thing for me. So, and the more I did it, the better I got, and the happier I got. So it was all good. What I want people to know about, not just me, but about art, is the fact that it's an amazing phenomenon. It is not to be underestimated by any way, shape, or form. It produces a great deal of energy, positive feeling and emotions, and the ability to intellectually think and organize your brain and to produce something is magical. It's absolutely magical. And there's no reason to do it except unless you're touched by this great thing that we don't know what it is. And we call it art, and it could be music, nothing else, but that's what I want the public to know, that it's just so powerful. It can just drive your life in the most, not in a romantic way, because it's not an easy life, but the most amazing ways to create and be in this world. It's not to be underestimated. It's so wonderful. I'm not sounding like buy this product, but I tell you, it's amazing. I'm very lucky to be an artist and very lucky to produce art. And that's what I want people to know, that they should do art.
Well, I think it's the richness of the cultural movement that it's around here. The coffees that most of the people are Hispanic. It's you know, where from the city I come from Mexico, San Luis Potosí. There's this movement too, you know, in certain places of the city, very cultural. And I used to be around there. I like that movement, knowing artists and poets, writers, and dancers, and that's what I like about the Pilsen, and that's the thing that makes it different from other, for me, that it's a lot of life right here, every day. Well, actually, everything starts with a sketch. That's the process. Sketch depends if it's my own work of surrealism. It's sketching, but when not knowing what am I doing, you know, it's just drawing, downloading, and playing with the human figure and metamorph human figure, and so from there I go to a canvas. Depends on what technique I want to use. Is it acrylic or oil or on board or pastel? It depends, but I always start with a sketch. Well, I work for the Chamber of Commerce, not as a member, but I'm involved because we organize a cultural event every summer, depends on August, and actually this year was the third Pilsen Cultural Celebration. That's where I got involved, and I painted the canvas for the poster, and which from there I started to get in contact with the artists of that live around Pilsen, and invited them to work together with the chamber, because they were giving us this space, and this cultural event was open to music, dance, poetry, and art. That's the main, and so that's how I got involved, and I like it because that's the way that we can work as a community.
I come from a family of artists. So my father, he was into a lot of things: stained glass, wood carving, mechanical design, and early on I just started drawing out of fun. Then I started collecting comic books. I had a really big comic book collection. So early on I wanted to be a cartoonist. Marvel Comics, DC Comics. Like when I went to Columbia, I studied under Mario Castillo because at the time I found myself doing work that was similar to his perceptionalist work, and so I decided to study under him. My last year at Columbia, I didn't graduate, but I think it was like the third year. After my third year, my financial aid ran out, and I went to talk to Mario and I asked him, what do you think? I said, I don't think I'm going to be able to come back because I just don't want to put myself in debt, And he asked me, what do you want to do with your degree, or what do you want to do? Do you want to teach? And I said, no, man, I just want to paint. I just want to paint. And he said, you know what, you're ready to go. He said, you're ready to go, go. Here I am in a community of artists. And it's got this long history. And I thought to myself, well, it's my turn to be a part of this, And at the time I came in, I was doing really abstract work, which I don't think a lot of artists were into. It was like very figurative, very socio-political, and I came in and I just did my own thing, and so I think I would like to say that's my contribution to this community. The sights, sounds, smell of the community, it's incredible.
My mom herself was a clown. She went to clown school, and she made me dress up as a clown and go with her to parties and stuff. We would take classes, I remember, making art with like vegetables and stuff. She was also a DJ, and she writes poetry, and so she's a pretty interesting, I think, an artist, and never went to school for it, but she's definitely an artist. Growing up in a little village too, it's almost like a little Mexico, as well as Pilsen. So, kind of, I think being surrounded by those kinds of things have influenced my artwork today. Just using these cultural icons and these traditions and sort of readapting them to fit what I'm trying to communicate. So, all of that has really inspired my work and who I am. Well, I started off doing mostly drawing and painting. I think a lot of people kind of start off like that. But again, just through those influences, I've been able to, really work with a concept first, and starting with the concept, find the materials that best communicate that concept. I think here you just have more access to the artist, to one-on-one conversations with artists, or to studio visits. Whereas in New York, it's a little harder to experience that with an artist who may be very well respected. In here, there's a lot of artists that are very well respected artists who've been around for a while and who've established, a reputation, a good reputation, and it's so far for me and a lot of other young people, I think it's been pretty easy to get in touch with them and to have, you know, conversations about art or about life or about community with them.
We started doing drawings. Even when I was in Mexico, she sent me some drawings, just a little bit like a sketch, and then I work a little bit more, and then I send the drawing, and Montserrat continue making the rest, and that was a kind of like correspondence, you know? Like you are, instead of writing a letter, we make a little bit about the drawing, no? And when I came here, we finished the drawing some years after.
Where we have grown together more is in the traditional aspect of our lives, the spiritual aspect. That's where we've been kind of more of a kind of growing and doing the cultural community work that in this area. That's why we moved from Evanston to Pilsen, which is a big change. And we've got this incredible space where we can do a whole bunch of different things. From, you know, like you see in the back, it's a traditional altar in the Aztec conchero tradition, to having these things on the walls of the Aztecs traditional attire, to having the live drawing classes or sessions with a model, to open it up to the artists in the community, to having shows of punk rock for the younger generations, to have a space to share their music, to having another friend of ours, young friend, who does his shows one night and has a DJ, that kind of thing.
And then when my brother comes back from the service, he had been away like 2 years, and he came back with, you know, these huge ideas of paintings and murals, and, you know, and he had done his research on the muralists of Mexico, and you know, he came back charged, you know, with this new pride, this new identity as a Mexican muralist. And then he was the one that would have the work that was commissioned to him. And, you know, I would only tag along and help him mount, you know, prepare his walls, or, you know, whatever it took. But I learned the ropes. I learned what it took to become a muralist. And I was very fortunate that from day one, I had the support of the principal, the support of the Mexican Fine Arts Center Museum, to paint, to work with mosaics, Venetian glass, and which is very expensive. And you know, Cynthia Weiss came over and she taught me and my students. She was paid through the Mexican Fine Arts Center Museum for giving us that brief introduction, and we took flight with that. And I only wanted to do the front facade of Orozco, which led to more things. It's like led to the mosaic, the entrance to the train station. It led to painting the whole train station. And then years later, in '98, it led to the design of the new Orozco, which then, after that, it led to the big job in Texas that I just finished. I think that the artwork has brought a lot of life to the community. It has a social and economic impact in the community. I mean, people come from outside. I see them in these big buses. They come out, they photograph, they get back in, they go to the museum, they go to the Mexican Museum, they go to the other Orozco school they photograph again. They go to the neighborhood restaurants. So it takes on a life of its own. I'm very happy that the people here in Pilsen have embraced me. I feel like Muhammad Ali when he won the world championship title off of Sonny Liston, and he's in the middle of the ring, and he's got the belt up in his hands, and he's doing the Ali shuffle. Yeah. I've been training hard. I know who I fight against, and I'm gonna whoop him. See, I fought them all. I fought the Fraziers, the Listons, the Folemans, and now people say, how would have Mike Tyson would have fought me when I was Cassius Marcellus Clay of the 60s? It would have been no contest, because I would have been on my toes and bobbing, weaving, slipping, sliding, throwing the left jab, the right cross, doing the rope-a-dope, looking so pretty, floating like a butterfly, stinging like a bee. I would have taken that chump by the count of 3.
I chose to live in Pilsen because this is where I made my first friends when I came to Chicago 21 years ago.
Do you find that your art
has
changed over the years, or are you basically doing the same things but using different techniques? Or
yeah, because in
improving
Panama I
art?
started out as a landscape painter and a portrait painter. Well, in Chicago it evolved into these sort of Disney-esque installations where people go inside of and be isolated within a certain experience. I pick issues of like injustice and inequity, social inequity, economic inequity, unbelievable. Like when certain things happen in the world and people don't say anything. When we have all the answers to make a better world and nobody does anything about it.
Would you consider yourself a political artist?
No, just a responsible citizen.